As a decorated Canadian sitting volleyball athlete from Edmonton, Alberta, right here, Austin Hinchey has served as both captain and leader, making a profound impact on the parasport in Canada over nearly 2 decades of international competition. Born with brittle bone disease, Hinchey made the courageous decision to amputate his left leg at the age of 10 in pursuit of a more active lifestyle. Over his 18-year tenure representing Canada, Hinchey has competed in multiple Para-Pan American Games, earning bronze medals and being named the tournament's best setter. We asked Austin to share his story of resilience and determination, demonstrating the untapped potential within the disability community. Let's welcome to the stage, Austin Hinchey.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to be here to speak with all of you today. A little less excited after realizing I had to follow Ricardo, who was incredible there. I got to sit in the back of the room for most of that, and tough act to follow. He was amazing. So, I'll jump to my first slide here. Uh-oh. There it is. Great, thanks. So, yeah, my name's Austin Hinchey. I'm born and raised in Edmonton here, and the first title there you can see is a para-athlete. I got a bit of an introduction there, but I've been a member of Team Canada men's sitting volleyball program since 2007. As I do the math in my head, that's a pretty long time. It certainly doesn't feel like it's been that long, but obviously very privileged to represent Canada for almost 18 years. I've also been an athlete in kind of what we consider able-bodied volleyball. So I played here locally at NAIT for 3 years, and then went out to Vancouver and played with the UBC varsity team for 2 years there as well. So kind of a unique piece to my story that I've been able to kind of participate at the highest level of volleyball we have in Canada in the kind of university or Can West program, and then also been a para-athlete as well. My second title you see there is, a lot of para-sports are what we kind of look at as like part-time high-performance programs. So we don't always have necessarily a full program, or like you would see in some sports, professional leagues, and then coming and representing your country with a national team. So, this has been kind of something that I could also grow and develop my career in addition to being an athlete. And so my title today is I'm an aftermarket territory manager with Caterpillar Financial. So I worked locally here in Edmonton with the Caterpillar dealer Finning, and then the past 3 years with Caterpillar Financial. And in that role, I cover Western Canada for different lending products and insurance products, working with our dealers and customers and reps within those organizations to help kind of promote our products there. So that's a bit on kind of who I am today, and I have the opportunity this afternoon to share kind of my full story with all of you. So my story from a really young boy to sort of what I went through with my disability. I'm obviously below knee amputee on my left side, and kind of just tell you a little bit about what my journey's been like with that and through athletics and my career and all kind of everything just about me. So we'll start here. So this young guy is me. I found out when I was about 18 months old that there was something going on with my leg. So we were just at a swimming pool and had kind of stepped off or jumped into the water off an edge, and my lower leg broke, which seemed really unusual and quite odd. And get it looked at, put it in a cast, and just let yourself heal. Just one of those things. When the doctors went to take that cast off, it turned out that my leg was still completely broken. So it hadn't healed under kind of the normal circumstances or normal amount of time that you'd expect. And so naturally we, raised a lot of questions and kind of went for more tests and more doctor's appointments and things like that, and found out that I had this brittle bone condition. So the condition was just isolated to my lower limb, and was, eventually after that first break, they put me back in a cast, and took kind of twice as long to heal, but eventually did heal. And as a young kid, you don't think about it. You move on pretty quick, and you get back out there and kind of do what you need to do and play with your friends and be active and things like that. And it didn't take long for that leg to break again, and that sort of became a theme, and more intervention or medical intervention was needed to help my leg heal each time that happened. So we started with, kind of bone screws and things like that. I've had bone grafts from both of my hips put into my leg, and then, eventually kind of kept progressing with surgeries and things like that to this contraption that you see on my leg there, which was kind of a pin system that would hold my leg in place and allow it to heal, just given the amount of time that it took. So that was something that was obviously really challenging for me and my family, and just kind of not understanding what was going on, and obviously very limiting for me as a young kid. So we did get to a point as I got a little bit older that we kind of decided, there isn't a long-term solution here that looks great, aside from just a lot of inactivity and a lot of caution and being very careful with what I did. And that wasn't for me. So we went and actually looked at amputation. And so that was something that the doctors presented as, based on your situation, we could look at amputating the leg, and kind of have some different circumstances there. So as a 10-year-old, I went and met a couple different amputees to get an idea of what that looked like. I knew what my circumstances looked like today, and what I was able to do, and how much time I spent in the operating room and on the couch and healing and things like that, and was looking for a solution ultimately. And I had the chance to meet two young amputees, one an arm amputee and one a leg amputee, and was just completely blown away at what they were doing versus kind of what I was able to do. And at the time for me, it was just about becoming recreationally active, right? Just being able to go back to the swimming pool, to shoot a basketball, to really just get outside and play with your friends. So when I saw that, as much as that really kind of in context sounds like a crazy decision to make at a young age, it was pretty black and white to me. It was, that looks way better than what I've got going on, and if the doctor says that they can make it work, then let's make it work. What are we waiting for? So this is not the face you would see often on somebody that's lost a limb. Big smiles there for me, and big smiles getting my first prosthetic. And so this was a unique mentality for me, and just something that I don't necessarily take a ton of credit for. It was just my circumstance, right? It was I wasn't able to do the things I wanted to do, and we were having troubles finding ways for me to adapt to be able to do them, and so we started looking for solutions, and to me this was it. So this was part of this was progress for me. This was working towards what I wanted to be able to do. Again, kind of just being active and being a kid and doing all those types of things. And certainly the human body is very adaptable, and I had seen that with the other amputees that I met and what they could do and how they adapted, and I knew that I could do that too. So this was sort of step one, this was my amputation. So it wasn't without setbacks. I think about this picture on the left because you really don't have any limits at this point. It's new. I've had this amputation. I've got this prosthetic. It's like, let's go and see what we can do with this. And the first thing I did, being a kid in Edmonton, is I tried to play soccer in the winter on an icy field on my crutches. And I actually broke my femur. So completely unrelated to my condition. It was really kind of an atrophy thing, and maybe pushing the limit a little bit too quick, too fast. But I ended up breaking my femur and was in a kind of a full leg cast, and came out of that, and then things started kind of progressing from there. So I'm not sure if there's So this is where things started to kind of work out in the direction that I had hoped for. So I started being able to play sports, and even more than I thought I would be able to play, somewhat competitive sports. I'm the oldest sibling of 4 kids. Both my parents were university athletes. We played every sport. We were in the backyard all the time, and we were, we gave music a shot. Didn't end up like Ricardo, that's for sure. But the sports is kind of where it worked for me. And I obviously loved hockey, shocker, Canadian from Edmonton, but loved hockey, played basketball, played soccer, kind of you name it. And this was a great, this was really, we were really happy with this, and certainly again ran into challenges and found sports that worked for me and didn't work for me as well, and found ways to adapt. And we did things like we rockered my skate blade, so my skate blade had more of a curve in it, so I could get onto my toe because I don't have an ankle. So we found ways to adapt things and make them work, and that was that was easy to do, right? This is where we kind of started being recreationally active, and this was really obviously exciting for me to be in a spot like this, kind of based on where I'd come from. So when I think about the context of kind of what happened to me, or what I was born with, and where we went to the kind of that last picture you see is, I talk a lot about barriers, and because of my circumstance and situation, I just didn't create any barriers for myself when I became an amputee. So when I, formally had a physical disability and missing my limb, this was an enhancement to my situation, to the opportunities that were available for me, to what I could do, and just how I approach things. So I think a lot about what my mentality was like, and what allowed me to kind of start to have some success athletically, and just in my life, and not creating barriers for myself. And I think a lot about kind of that youth mentality, right? It's, why couldn't I do it? And as I get older, it becomes harder and harder to do those things, and I try to remind myself of what that mentality was like. But, certainly there's no risk. Let's push the limits and not create any barriers, and kind of go see what we can do. So this I think is, in the context of disability awareness, we think a lot about barriers, and I'd kind of share with you, I think that a lot of people with physical disabilities aren't necessarily thinking about them. Like they're finding ways to adapt, or they're used to ways to adapt. And I've been able to spend a lot of time with different people with physical disabilities, given kind of the sports that I've played in, and being part of the national team and things like that. And it's really interesting the way they think about barriers and things that are in their way. And like I said, it's crazy what kind of the human body can do to adapt. So I just kind of it's really a really important message for me that really helped drive some of my success. So that was sort of the first, I guess, stage a bit to my kind of initial athletic success, and where we wanted to go. And this is a bit of insight into kind of where it eventually went, which was not something we had ever really thought was achievable initially. So on the left there was that's my final year playing at UBC in Vancouver as part of the varsity team. I think about the progression that I had through volleyball. Volleyball really became my sport kind of as a teenager. I was given an opportunity to be kind of the 13th man on a U15 club team, and which was amazing. I was thrilled to be a part of that team. It was kind of the top tier team for that program, and I was taken as kind of the third setter, right? As somebody that, this is a great person to have around and to learn the game and to participate as part of our team. Not necessarily somebody we expect to contribute at kind of a starting position level or things like that. And by the start of the next season, I was the starting setter for my position. And that team, we went on to win 3 provincial championships, and was one of the top teams in, thank you. One of the top club programs in Canada, really. And that was a lot of learning, a lot of work with my prosthetic, a lot of work with my body, and that sort of stuff. And then that started all again for me when I went on to try and play college. So I'd played with this top team that everybody was getting recruited to university programs and college programs and things like that. And it's challenging to take a risk on somebody with a disability like mine to bring into a program that is a lot heavier and intensive than what club volleyball is. And so a lot of my friends are going off to universities and getting recruited and things like that. And I had one program that was interested in me coming to play, and that was here locally in Nate. And ultimately, I wanted to play post-secondary so bad I didn't really care where I went, and it worked out. It was home and it was local, and they were interested in me coming to play. So I went and kind of started that cycle over again. That team was, I think they were 4-16 the year before I showed up, and it was kind of a rebuild year, and it was about developing culture and attitude and bringing in new athletes. And we went on 2 years later to flip the scores. We had a 16-4 season. So totally kind of turned the program around. We had to do a lot of stuff. I share the fitness magazine picture because there's a lot of learning in volleyball, but there's a lot of like physical learning. And I was really fortunate to have some people that gave me an opportunity and believed in me. And probably not something they'd love me sharing, but we took our entire strength and conditioning team budget in the second year, and they let me work with a corrective exercise specialist and a personal trainer. And so our team got, here's your paper program, you know where the gym is. And Austin got, you're with Lorraine 3 times a week. And we're gonna figure out how we design a program and work with you, because you need to get stronger, and you need to, and these are all things that I thought I could do and they believed in me to do, but I needed some help. And I was really fortunate to work with a corrective specialist like that at that level that helped me be able to, get in a position where, I could play volleyball at that level. And another kind of, the last progression, I guess, with volleyball that was really interesting for me is, again, not having a lot of interest from college programs. University seems pretty far out of sight. And so when I was getting close to, maybe having an opportunity to do that, I physically was there, but wasn't quite there with my prosthetic. And those are challenging things to find sometimes, and find the resources, find the people that can do and work with people that are kind of pushing the boundaries on things. And as a young university student, I actually ended up kind of leaving my prosthetist, who was the person that builds my legs and had been with me from the beginning, because I was just working, I had these goals that I wanted to achieve and was very close to being able to achieving the goal to go play university. And I ended up finding a different prosthetist that worked with me and helped me set up my leg and prosthetic in a different way that really kind of made a difference in my performance. And that was, I think about if you had to fire your doctor or something like that, they're only there to help you and they're doing the best they can. It was a really, really uncomfortable thing to do at the time. But again, knowing there was ways to adapt, knowing that there's, people out there that can do this, we kind of found a way to do that. And that was really exciting for me to go and play at the university level. So just kind of my progression of volleyball was, it was really from kind of small cycles of, okay, we got an opportunity, and what can we do with it? And kind of stretching the boundaries and stretching, my thought on what I was capable of doing, and really just kind of putting your head down and not again creating barriers for yourself, and just seeing what you can do with kind of the work and the progress. So. This, just want to share a couple photos of you with my kind of national team experience. It's been something that's really cool. I started the national team as, like a 16-year-old rookie kid kind of thing, to obviously where I am today. And this was the Pan Am Games in Mexico and Guadalajara in 2011. And this was, the largest crowd and closest thing to kind of, signing autographs and seeing fans and just really being celebrated as a para athlete. Which is incredible, and it's so cool what sport does, for people that are fans or people that get to participate or whatever it might be. And I've been really privileged to be a part of this program and to get to do these kinds of things. So I love sharing this photo, because this was, I was just in awe playing this match and getting to be in front of a crowd like that and play a para sport. So. This was 4 years later, Pan Am Games in Toronto, and another really cool experience to host, a major sporting games like this, multi-sport games in Toronto. This was right after, this was kind of match point for us to win a bronze medal, which was really cool. And I got some really unique opportunities with this team and at this time, and kind of through that cycle. We had that was when I had a sponsorship with CIBC and got to speak at events for CIBC, and some supplement sponsors and gym sponsorships and things like that to really help support an athlete and our team on kind of what our goals were for that event. It was really, really cool to be just like celebrated in Canada and to have an event like that in Toronto. So that one's always a fun picture to share. And then I've got this. This is me in Peru in 2019. So this was winning the Best Setter Award that was mentioned earlier. So, obviously really cool to win, the team to win a bronze medal, and then also to get recognized kind of individually for an award. So it's a cool picture to share. And then on the right, there's a couple of my teammates. I just wanted to quickly introduce Jesse's on the far right there. A teammate of mine who's since retired. Him and his wife started a commercial cleaning business, had 2 kids, and then she decided she wanted to be a doctor, so she's in med school. And he's busy, and they're busy. And he is always someone I really admired. He was born missing his left leg below the knee, his right leg above the knee, and part of his hand, you can see there is a minor deformity to his hand. And so certainly somebody that when I wanted to complain about my circumstances or had challenges, you look over beside you to someone you're playing with and go, okay, never mind. But I do have a story about Jesse, so I wanted to introduce you to Jesse there as well. This was a clip from the magazine I showed you earlier, and this quote really kind of rang true for me when I think about one of my favorite quotes that describes some of the success I've had and that sort of thing is attitude is the difference between an ordeal and a journey. And I just think about kind of in a corporate environment and in a team environment, having kind of culture and attitudes and things like that is really challenging to manufacture. And when you can kind of put people in that have the right attitude or have different perspective, that's really, I think, kind of a foundation piece for how you build out a strong team and how you have some of these things that, kind of as a group result, what is our kind of group culture or team culture or things like that. Attitude is really what gave me a lot of my opportunities. That you don't pick a 13th man to your team if they have a bad attitude. You're looking for a good attitude person that has the ability to grow. So, I think a lot of people with disabilities and a lot of the people that I've been able to work with and meet and be teams on, they bring such incredible attitudes to everything that they do, and they're just such a value add to have. So that's been a really cool quote for me. I did want to have one slide just to kind of translate, some of the experiences I've had in life and through sport and how they've sort of translated into my career. So this is our North American conference for Cap Financial, and 2 different years and 2 awards that I've won, which was awesome to be recognized for kind of what I do in my role. I've been really lucky to work for 2 employers that valued my disability and also my volleyball experience and what I've been able to get from those teams. And they've always given me kind of the flexibility to be able to attend those things. So it's for me to go and win medals and win awards and compete with other athletes and that sort of thing. They've also been really flexible with me attending an event like today to be here to speak with you and share my story. So I've been very fortunate to have, again, employers that gave me an opportunity to go do something and let me kind of use my skills and strengths to make the most of it. So again, I think about the context of giving people with disabilities opportunities and letting them show you what they can do. So this hopefully, probably an awkward silence, but maybe would give you a laugh. I think about the team when I sent my slides in, and I was just wondering, I was like, oh man, they're going to be wondering why they asked this guy to speak. when they see this slide. But this isn't specifically, but is my first car. And so I have a little story about my first car. We were, as I told you, 4 siblings, family of 6. We were a minivan family, and lots of minivans around, lots of used minivans cycling out and getting kids to sports and things like that. And so when my dad came home and had this little 1997 black Volkswagen Jetta out front and said that was for me, I was obviously ecstatic. I was thrilled. I was like, I don't know how this worked. I get a car and everybody else is driving minivans, and like, how did that happen? And so I was thrilled. Then I got in the car and there was 3 pedals. And I was like, Dad, why did you buy me a manual transmission vehicle that I have to work with my left leg? I'm an amputee. This is insane. And so obviously total high to what is going on here. Like, is this a joke? Is it not for me? I don't understand. And he was basically like, you'll figure it out. And, I laughed and thought that was hilarious, but, obviously I did. It took me, probably a week of driving, whereas most kids, it would take a day of driving to figure out how to drive a manual transmission vehicle with a prosthetic. I don't have an ankle. I don't know exactly where my foot is, so I'll hope I get, we're going to stall in an intersection and cause havoc. Like, I got to make sure I know where the hazard lights are, but just one of those things. I think, the human body is really adaptive, and you find a way to learn how to do it. And so this is a story I've shared before, and is a good example of opening my eyes sometimes to what I could do, but I think it's a funny story. So I shared it with some of my friends on the national team. And Jesse was one of those people. And I'm telling him the story and explaining, how my dad bought me this vehicle. And I was like, what the heck is this guy thinking? It's hard. It takes a while to learn how to do that, and it's challenging. And I'm telling this to Jesse, and he's like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, when I had to learn how to drive our farm truck that's manual transmission, it was hard. It took a while. And I'm like, so you're missing both legs, part of your hand, and you're driving a farm truck around, likely doing manual labor work, and I'm complaining about my car. And anyways, just very humbled very quickly by Jesse's response to him driving a manual transmission vehicle while doing manual labor work around their farm. So again, my perspective kind of totally changed. So, I went the wrong way. So just kind of last final thought here on just teams. I've obviously been a part of sports teams. I work in a sales team or a field sales team as part of Caterpillar Financial, and just a couple of thoughts on kind of what makes a great team. I was in a kind of a senior manager networking event recently, and they were asking one of the senior leaders about what can you give us some of your thoughts or some of the things you went through when you went from kind of an individual contributor type of role and then you went into a leadership role? So having direct reports and managing a team and building a team and those types of things. And he said that one of the best pieces of advice he ever got was not to hire yourself. And so what he meant by that, obviously, is not to hire somebody that has the same skill set as you and looks at problems the same way as you and thinks of the same solutions that you do. You're looking for somebody that has maybe a different background, has different strengths, has different perspective, and ultimately you're looking to build a diverse team. And again, it's kind of one of those things where the sum of that team is really where the strength is. You're not looking to duplicate yourself in someone that thinks the same way and solves problems the same way. And I thought that was obviously really interesting, because you would think that when you have success and obviously a very successful career and has moved up, that why wouldn't you find more people like you, when in fact his thought was the opposite. I need to find people that aren't like me and think differently, and obviously still very skilled people, but different thought, and have that diversity within our team. So I think about the teams that I've been a part of, and the age differences and the disability differences and things we've had, and specifically in parasport, like someone like Jesse versus me, when our goal is how do we get the ball to the net, and we're trying to find a solution for passing the ball to the net, Jesse's going to do that in a completely different way than I would do it, even though it's a very simple task and skill. So it's just a reminder that you can solve problems in different ways, and different people find ways to do that. So I think that's my final slide there. I did I did just share my other team here as I talk about teams. So I'm always very lucky to be a dad of an almost 2-year-old, and that's my wife Candace, and just thought I would share my other team with you as well. Thank you.
Kind of stand center stage here for you, just because we're going to put you on the spot a little bit.
As long as I don't have to sing.
What song? No, thank you for sharing your story. We really appreciate it. I know you're not a professional speaker by any stretch, and you were probably a little humbled even when being asked. Am I wrong, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I've been really lucky to be asked, to talk in kind of sports settings and even some kind of corporate settings on just sharing my story again. But this is a new space for me, and obviously, it seems like this is very logical. It's somewhere I might have started speaking. So I'm super privileged to be here and speak to this audience and with all our other presenters today.
No, thank you, and my apologies on making you fall, Ricardo. That's on me. I didn't want to have to do that to you. You talked about the importance of team building. What have you learned along your journey that's been most valuable, especially overcoming barriers?
Yeah, I think I certainly as an athlete, and as you grow up as an athlete, and kind of as I talked a little bit there at the end, you're like, well, if I could just do it, it's like when you think about problems you're having or things that you're doing and you want to solve yourself, especially as an athlete, having to work within a team context, you're like, I'll just try and fix the problem, or I'll do it myself, or I'll take on more work, or I'll do those kinds of things. And, I've learned with more experience that, and kind of more as I've moved into kind of more mentorship type of roles, working with younger athletes and new athletes, and we get lots of athletes that are like completely new to our sport, is just how to develop your team and work with your team and kind of the strength of your team as opposed to what kind of my individual strengths would be. So.
No, that's great. Final thought, what would you like employers to know? Because I know you've had some good flexibility, which has been pretty valuable. But what would you like employers to know?
Yeah, I think, again, kind of just the attitude and the perspective piece of what you might assume somebody has versus what they're kind of able to come in and show you given the opportunity. I'm just very grateful that when I had some of my initial conversations with, my employers, it was like, hey, this is a really important part of my life, and participating on this team and attending these events and that sort of thing. And, it was a conversation around, that's a huge value add for us, like your experience there and what you do and things like that. We want to be able to make that work so we can make that work, as opposed to a conversation around, well, you've got a certain amount of vacation, you can do whatever you like, right? It's like seeing the value in what that brings and just having the opportunity. So I'm always very grateful for the opportunity I was given to come in and kind of show what I could do.
Well, thank you very much. Let's give another round of applause for Austin Hinchey.